Malcarion says, I couldn't read until the 3rd grade. It was a special class for the rest of the time in school. Grades 1 and 2 were U.S. Air Force School in Okinawa. They didn't know because I could memorize the spelling. Oh, cool. He also says, after I did learn to read, I started going to the library weekly and checked out 2 to 3 books at a time, developed a love for reading and writing, poetry, short stories, and even started a novel. That's great, dude. The fact, though, that the public school system is targeting to have kids reading by 3rd grade, most of my kids are reading by the time that they're 6. At the latest. At the latest. This is before they go into any sort of, now we homeschool, but they go into a bunch of different homeschool programs. They go into various courses and tutoring stuff that Lady Rackets and I don't do. Band, choir, stuff like that. Various science classes, stuff we're not good at. We have other people fill the gaps, right? But like, they're reading, and not like reading not like suffering through 3-letter words. They're reading by the time they're 5 and 6 years old. And we don't even try. Like, we're not specially tutoring them towards reading. They just pick it up. I was reading when really young. So like, maybe my perception is skewed. I love that you have become an avid reader. And I get that you were not reading by 3rd grade. But if we are paying a government to educate our children, don't we want them reading by 1st grade? Don't we want them reading by the time they're 6, 7, 8 years old? Like, why are we... There can be one-offs. There can be people who are not particularly skilled at reading, who are behind, whatever. That's fine. No harm to them. No foul. Like, it's a skill that they maybe don't have the right wiring for. They need extra work with. That all makes sense. But the average, really, these kids should be reading by 1st grade, shouldn't they? V6 says, I'm bad at science, Rackets. Look, I can do the science that I need to do. I just don't need to do much science anymore. So if you want me to teach biology to my children, I'd much rather have someone who's good at biology teach them, right? Like, that makes sense to me. If you want them to learn static vector mechanics, I can teach them that. That's fine. I can teach them physics. I can teach them chemistry, but I don't want to. Like, again, they're better people to teach them. That's why I send them to classes to do that shit. I can teach them math. I can teach them English. I can teach them spelling. I can teach them ramen cooking. Pie Diddley says, why the fuck would you have a child and not want to teach him? I don't know if you're talking to me. I want to teach my child as much as I can, but I want to utilize and leverage other people's abilities that are superior to mine in certain things. And then there's certain activities that are just not conducive to a homeschool environment. Again, choir. Well, we have 5 kids, but like, some of our kids do choir, and they do choir with a group of kids that's like 30 to 40 kids. Choir with 5 kids is not going to work. And again, art, I'm not an artist. I can't teach a kid like the differences in paint and technique and stuff like that. So I will take them to an art class. It's great. I will teach my kids what I can teach them, and I can teach them a bunch of shit, which is funny. I can teach them about a YouTuber or whatever. Teach your kids to question authority. Trusted people are usually not to be trusted. Oh, I do. I definitely do. Like, that's the fun part about talking to my oldest. And the next oldest is I get to teach them about police and government authority and not actually talking and why they don't. Teach them to respect authority, but that respect comes with the reasons as to why you don't give them anything. That's the shit that I teach my kids about. I teach them critical approaches to literature. I teach them critical writing and reading. I teach them argument and persuasion. I teach them all these things that I know that I'm better at than most people who I know. But then the places where I'm not adept, of course I send them somewhere else.